Hello, this is Dread from Apprentice's Corner. And today's video topic is going to be a video about Smelter's Wrath. Yes, I did revive Smelter's Wrath for the patch 7.10. There were a few changes that allowed me to create the build and not it feel like complete poop this time because I have played it before and it was complete garbage. Now, so the changes. There was a new amulet release called the Gambler's Fallacy. Now, the way you get this is during the Urza's Ledger quest in Act 1, you give the ledger to the gambler, Artem, instead of the other dude. And you get Avarice if you give it to Urza, right? But if you give it to Artem, you get Gambler's Fallacy. Now, the way this reads is you have a 100% chance to crit, like base crit, meaning you always crit, if you have not crit recently, which is 4 seconds. So if you've not crit in the last 4 seconds, you crit 100% of the time, like auto crit, much like Bone Curse, right? And then if you have crit recently, you have a 50% less crit chance. Well, normally this is not that impactful for most builds, but specifically for things like Smelter's Wrath that requires to be set up beforehand, the auto crit is very nice. Now, you must be saying to yourself, but doesn't Smelter's Wrath already have auto crit in its tree? And like, yes, but it's hidden behind 5 nodes of travel, and that's 5 nodes that you could be using for damage. So that's the main reason why that Gambler's Fallacy feels a lot better because instead of having to spend 5 tax points, you can spend 5 points on damage. Now, this build has its flaws. Standing still in ARPGs to this day is still bad, no matter how tanky you are. Usually, not taking a hit is better than taking a hit, obviously. The best way to mitigate damage is to move. But while you're channeling Smelter's Wrath, you are stuck. You cannot move. Now, it does make up for this fact for a few reasons. One thing, it does a significant portion of damage. I'm level 70, I believe, level 73, and I'm doing like 100k crits easy. Easy peasy, 80k crits against rares and bosses. Like, because Smelter's Wrath does more damage versus rares and bosses. It feels amazing so far for the damage, and the AoE is absolutely fantastic because of that one node that turns it into a Nova attack. It's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing, but while you're standing still, you just take all this punishment and it's just not worth it. Now, obviously, I'm talking in regards to Arena. I did push it decently in SSF. I could have pushed it much farther, but I'm pretty much happy with how the build turned out, and I don't want to kind of push it farther because I believe that it is not the best build ever. And it's more of a fun build, right? And if you like big damage and big AoE, you're going to love this. Now, but in not in regards to Arena, but in regards to Monolith, this build's amazing because of how much damage it does, how much AoE it has. It clears monoliths very, very fast, not because of the fact it's fast. It actually has no movement skills other than volatile reversal. No, since it clears the entire screen on a button press, right? It just allows you to generally move through the monolith faster. So if you want a good, solid monolith farmer build and you have no interest in pushing arena, this is the build for you if you want to see a big AoE, right? Now, this is utilizing the new Forge Guard tree, which has had a few things change significantly about it. So we have to look at it like kind of like a new class. That's the biggest issue, right? But it does have some potential for some other builds. Now, let's get into the skills, shall we? All right, here we are with the character. The character's name is Gamble My Life Away. The reason why we did that is because of the fact that it's utilizing the Gambler's Fallacy unique amulet. This is the item that the build is built around, the Gambler's Fallacy item. So makes it so if we have not crit recently, we have 100% chance to crit. Amazing, right? Obviously, I could do way more damage than that. This is kind of one of those builds where you have to set up. So the way it works is you set up your sigils. Now you shield bash, and then you hold and wait for the crit, and then you let the ignite go off. You do that again, and then volatile reversal, and then 168,000 damage on the dummy with one hit. Yeah, pretty good. So let's explain what's happening here. So Smelter's Wrath. The base Smelter's Wrath tree is kind of like a Scion AoE, kind of like a Scion from League of Legends. It's kind of like a Smash, but that version is bad overall because of the AoE is very small. So you're not only standing still, but your AoE feels ass. So we do take up the points up here, take travel points up to this node called the detonation node. Now, what that does is it makes it into a Nova attack and gives Smelter's Wrath a lot more viability than what it would have had without this. Now, of course, we take 1 point here, increase crit chance, literally useless, just travel skill. 60% more damage against rares and bosses. This is where you need the damage, so this is very nice to have 60% more damage on the skill itself for 3 points. Then, of course, we have kill threshold. Now, this is coal, and it gets doubled if it's at max charge. So at max charge, you will coal at 24%. Absolutely amazing for monolith bosses, any kind of boss, rares, all that kind of stuff, right? It's very good for that. Why that's important is because this is actually one of the highest amounts of coal in the game. I think the only thing that comes even close to it is Serpent Strike. So this is the other one that's close to that, right? And of course, we take 3 points into charging speed so that it charges faster. So we're not spending a whole 2 seconds, because if you did not know, that's how long you have to spend to charge it to finish it. And of course, we take 2 nodes. These are just travel nodes, so we can get to the more hit damage per ignite stack. That segues into the burning patch. Now, to deal the most significant amount of damage, what we need to do is we need to lay down a burning patch. It only lays it down after a full when fully charged. And the way that works is it ignites enemies once every 6 seconds. I mean, once every second for 6 seconds. And that's good for us because at 6 seconds, we're about already at 75. Well, no, actually, it's more like 90% more damage against the enemy, which is absolutely amazing for us. Obviously, ignite duration would probably be good for this. This leads us to deal a lot more damage than normal. Now, in the old version of Smelter's Wrath, we would take these points and go up to Volcanic Mastery instead for the auto crit. Like I said, the biggest issue with that is the fact that it wastes a lot of points. We have a lot less damage potential. This is what puts us over the edge, over that 100,000 damage mark, right? That's the first part, right? Now, the second part is Shield Bash. Yes, Shield Bash is usable for something other than the bleed node. Yes, it is actually a very good support skill, ironically, right? First off, it auto stuns for a while, right? It's pretty nice. You get a lot of stun duration against non-enemies, and you get stun duration here, right? So we take 3 points here, 1 point into the increased width, right? Make it bigger. And of course, we take 1 point, 2 points into here for travel, or 1 point actually. We don't need 2 points in that anymore. Just 1 point. That's nice. I forgot about that. Now, this node is very, very, very important. It gives us 200% more melee fire damage. That is amazing because that's like a 200% more damage multiplier on top of it. Now, if you did not know, Smelter's Wrath does 50-50, 50% fizz and 50% fire with your beginning stats. And I don't know how it calculates it after that. And there's no numbers on that. So we're just going to assume that it does that, right? Obviously. But it's absolutely insane for us. That's a lot of damage in 4 nodes. And the thing is its duration lasts forever. Yes, it does. Or not forever, but like it lasts between zones because there is no duration. It just says your next melee attack. So you can kind of just go through you can kind of prime it up and then go through the entire monolith and kind of just don't do anything. And then eventually charge up and deal the more damage, right? And of course, we have some other nodes here. We take 2 travel nodes here to get to additional charge so that, we have more charges built up because we only need this damage for a single target. We take 4 travel nodes here so that we can equip Juggernaut. The main reason we're equipping Juggernaut is so that we can use it without a shield because we're not using a shield with this build because otherwise our damage would be much more lackluster than it is now. 1 point of travel here. We take 1 travel for the potion drop chance. Now, I'm unsure about this. I don't know if this is good or not, but we've been messing around with it. It's a cool idea, and this build does function off of potions, as you'll see later on. That's the second layer of damage. Now, the third layer of damage here, we're utilizing Volatile Reversal. Funny, it keeps popping up. So we go down here for Void Rift on arrival, 3 points into Void Rift area, and then 3 points into enemy damage taken. Now, this is a 30% more damage multiplier because it's damage increase taken. It's much like the damage over time node, like with the other build, but instead it just works for all damage. Now, we also take 3 nodes up to here one node up into time loss vitality for more cooldown, and then 3 nodes into catching up. Now we also do not take any nodes into the attack and cast speed because if you did not know, Smelter's Wrath does not scale off of attack speed, so scaling attack speed is pretty much useless. So we do not need attack speed at all with this build. Obviously, get some Void Rifts, more area for the rest of these points. I was kind of messing around with it. And of course, the last layer is Sigils of Hope. We are using it for a maximum amount of damage. So at the base, it gives us 4 additional fire damage per point, which is flat fire damage. It just gets scaled by the shield bash, right? It's really strong. And of course, we get 3 extra flat here. We get 30% damage per active sigil. That's 120% damage later on. The armor on sigils is absolutely busted. One of the strongest things about the skill now. And of course, we get the duration, the extra sigil, and the doubled health regen. And I believe that's pretty much it for skills. But like I said, we set up our sigils of a long duration. We Smelter's Wrath so that there's a little bit of a patch, right? Wait for our crit, and then kablamo, right? Fun, right? And it's really good against bosses, like monolith bosses and stuff. But for arena, it's bad. But for monolith, it's amazing, right? Because it's fun. It's okay to play with a fun skill every so often, right? Otherwise, you're going to go insane. Now, let's talk about the passive tree. The passive tree is very important. So we are taking 8 points into Juggernaut because our armor and our damage base is based off of strength. So we are a strength stacking build. 7 points into Fearless because vitality and health regen is really nice because we're going to be taking a lot of damage. Armor Clad, damage taken from nearby enemies is really good for when enemies are piling up on us, and obviously flat armor is always nice. We take 5 points of travel into Temporal Corruption for an extra flat 10. Obviously, the 200% from Shield Bash is not affected by this, but everything else is, so it's pretty nice. And of course, get to Volatile Reversal. For Paladin, we travel up utilizing this Fire Pen and Physical Pen, which is amazing for us because we cannot rely on Shred due to the fact that we don't have anything that's fast hitting or anything like that. So we have no Shred, so we have to rely on Pen for our damage sources. And of course, we take 7 points into Vitality, so more health regen, more more health regen, more health to get up to Sigils of Hope. Now, for Forge Guard, this is where it gets a little spicy. So we take 5 travel points into Weapons Master. I might actually take the Physical Resistance instead here later on. 10 points into Fresh from the Forge. Why this is important is because we are only attacking like every 4 seconds or whatever, thanks to Gambler's Fallacy. So this is an 80 flat damage like boost in our damage, right? This almost doubles our weapons damage already, right? Absolutely amazing. And it doesn't matter that it's not always up all the time. We just need it up for when we're preparing for a single target. Now, this is a very special node in the build. We have Crushing Blows. Now, your next melee attack deals increased damage based on their mana cost. This is kind of like exactly how the Sorcerer's mastery bonus works, except it's at a 3-to-1 value instead of a 1-to-1 value. Why that's important is because we're pushing up our Smelter's Wrath from 35 mana to 45 to 55 mana. So at 55 cost, we're gaining about 165% increased damage from 6 nodes. Very efficient. So obviously Crushing Blows is very good for us since we're dealing a lot of damage with a lot of mana. This is like actually really good for builds that stack really high amounts of mana. Like for instance, Judgment would be really good with this as well since it has a lot of mana cost. So it's the big spell paladin archetype, or in this case, attack. So these nodes were very nice. I like these nodes. And of course, we have the 8 points in decreased melee damage with the 2-handed weapon. We have that. 1 point into dodge rating into armor with iron reflexes because we're utilizing a dodge potion belt. Gives us a lot of flat armor, which is very nice. Obviously, you can like scale dodge instead, but I'm just messing around with it. 1 point into might, so we can travel up. Obviously, you want to max this out later on. 1 point into might, though. 4 points into duelist. You want to max out lethal strikes. Max out the armor on potion use so that when we use the potion, we get a lot of armor. Trust me, you'll be using your potions a lot with this build. And of course, we have liquid iron. It gives us a lot of damage over time taken, and it was helping my physical resistance get capped. It was a little bit difficult to cap res on this build as you have no outside sources of res for this kind of build other than your stuff from Forge Guard. My gear is pretty trash, right? But later on, we're going to be taking 8 points into Molded by the Forge for another 120% increased damage multiplier, right? One the crit multi, like I said, and then there's another 120% increased damage. So this build will be feel really good for Monolith because you're going to be dealing a lot of damage, but the survivability is a little bit off, and that's kind of why I'm kind of shelving the build for now. But armor does definitely feel good, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse as we level up. So I think that they need to buff the flat amount of armor that exists in the game, as it kind of is a little lacking in the current state of the game. That's pretty much it for the passive skill tree. So let's talk about gearing. Gearing is a complete hot mess right now. So I'm sorry. I did not get lucky this time. So this is payback for last time with the Warpath build. But our best in slot idol is fire penetration with melee attacks on idols. That is our best in slot. And obviously you'd want HP or something with that. Everything else is just whatever you can fit on it. But mainly, like I said, you definitely want the fire pen. Obviously, leech is pretty good though too, but you can get it on the large Rhea idols and the adorned Rhea idols, right? Really good. Now, for a best in slot weapon, it is the Sun Forged Hammer. Why this is our best in slot weapon is because it gives us literally everything we could possibly want. It's kind of obvious. The only issue right now is I believe the 66% more damage to ignited enemies with Forge Strike and Smelter's Wrath. I believe that is bugged because I don't feel that increase that more damage, but that's a topic for a different day. Obviously, absolutely mandatory gambler's fallacy, but it is 100% farmable, right? Because you just go to Artem and you finish the quest with him, and you get the gambler's fallacy. And of course, for gearing is actually pretty easy. I'm gonna hover over it, but like it's pretty obvious: strength, life, resistance. You want dodge potion with the iron reflexes. This is not the most crafted build. Like I said, I'm shelving the concept for now because I'm not I'm not 100% sure that this build is going to be good, but I'm obviously going to leave a video for you guys, right? But still, this is not the best build ever. There could be a lot of improvements to it, but like I said, I'm shelving it for now. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully the next build will be a bit better. Bye.